My second resolution here, figure out what to do with the prospects.
Yeah.
I mean, we are beating this same drum over and over again on this show, but you kind of have to, because it has been years of conversation at this point where you're looking at the Orioles farm system, you're looking at the top 10 guys in the system, and there are some surefire starters at the top, right? I'm not talking about Jackson Holliday. I'm not saying figure out what to do with the number one prospect in baseball. I have a good idea. You start him every day whenever he is ready to get the call up to the big leagues, which could be opening day. I'm not even really talking about Colton Cowser or Heston Kjerstad or Kobe Mayo. I think those guys, when they are up, Mayo especially probably out of that group, is going to get pretty consistent reps, you would have to imagine. Cowser and Kjerstad, I think, fall a little bit more into the category of, Cowser, Kjerstad, Ortiz, Norby. What does their role look like in 2024? Because as good of a problem as it is, I understand that injuries happen, that trades happen, that, guys struggle. There are a lot of things that you can't predict during a baseball season. And it is really nice to have such a stacked AAA group of talent with guys like Ortiz and Norby and Kjerstad and Cowser that if somebody gets injured at the big league level, you can call on any of those guys. And they're not just going to be serviceable, they're more than likely going to be really good big league players. But it is still a problem when there is a logjam in the way that there is right now. Because guys like Ortiz and Norby, they are too good to just be sitting in AAA.
Yes.
And it is nice to have them as depth. It is nice to, like I said, anytime somebody gets injured or there is a trade or anything like that, you can call on any of those guys, and they are going to, more than likely down the line, turn into good big league players. But are they trade pieces? Are they depth pieces? Are they going to get close to everyday reps? Are they just going to be your fourth or fifth infielder or your fourth or fifth outfielder in the case of Cowser and Kjerstad? Yes, it's a good problem to have, but you still need to make the correct moves and move those chess pieces in the right ways to make sure that you are sustaining winning down the line.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to go right into mine here because it's very similar.
Yeah.
I want to see the youngsters play in the big leagues. I want to see what these guys can do.
Yeah.
Especially Jackson Holliday. I want to see him on the opening day roster, see what he can do out there. I want to see Kjerstad and Cowser play in the big leagues. Give them a long time to show us what they are. Like you said, you don't want to see these guys just continue to be trade pieces forever, potential trade pieces. You see it on Twitter, whatever. Maybe this guy gets thrown there, maybe this guy gets thrown there. I want to see what these guys can do at the big league level. Yeah. We saw both of them in the bigs last year, Cowser and Kjerstad, shorter stints. Kjerstad right at the end of the season made the playoff roster. We didn't see him do a lot in the playoffs, but Cowser only got a little bit of time in the MLB. I'd like to see both those guys play and give them some kind of time.
Yeah, you're in a tough situation here, right? This is why Mike Elias and company are making the decisions and we are not. Because it's easy to say, let's see the young guys play. Let's see what you have in Colton Cowser and what you have in Kjerstad and Ortiz and Norby and Mayo. That's all fine and dandy. But at the same time, the team just won 101 games.
It's true.
Save for, Gunnar Henderson, who lit the world on fire when he came up, even Adley Rutschman struggled in his first month in the big leagues, because that's what's going to happen when you go up from AAA to the major leagues. And as much as I want to agree with you and say, let's give those guys a longer leash and see what they can do, you're in a difficult spot when your window for winning is right now. We didn't really think that going into the 2023 season. We weren't expecting, nor was anybody, that the Orioles would win 101 games. And you did see Colton Cowser play in 25 games, which isn't a lot. That's not a ton. I would love to see Colton Cowser get a longer leash there, as would you. But at the same time, Cowser struggled in those first 25 games, which is not a knock on him, understandably so. But Colton Cowser hit $115 with a 433 OPS in 25 games. And Cowser has a ton of upside. I think he's going to be a very good major league player. He is one of the top prospects in baseball for a reason. But if you are a 100-win team that has expectations and hopes of winning the division again, of making the playoffs again, of winning close to 100 games again, how long is your leash going to be for even a top prospect that is understandably going to struggle a little bit in their first taste of the big leagues? It's hard.
It is incredibly hard. I'm not saying it's easy. But I also feel like if you don't give them the time to struggle, it's difficult to watch them grow out of that.
Absolutely. 100%
so
agree.
If Cowser, like a guy like Cowser, you said, 25 games didn't play well, it's hard for him to then work through that if he doesn't get the opportunity to do so.
Right.
So I'd like to see him get some at-bats. I'm not saying these guys have to play every day or something.
Yeah.
But just give them a shot instead of signing somebody or something like that. Maybe turn towards one of those guys and see what they can do in the big leagues and give them an opportunity to try and work through the struggles that come with the jump from the minors to the majors.
Yeah, but then, of course, that kind of falls back into my resolution as well in terms of figuring out what to do with these guys.
Sure.
If you're looking at that situation saying, let's use Colton Cowser as an example, if you are taking a situation like that and saying, well, they're not really going to get everyday reps, so it's hard for them to find a rhythm, but, when they are getting at-bats, they're not really hitting the way that we are hoping they would, but we're a 100-win team. We can't really afford to give him everyday reps. If he's going to struggle for a little while, then the obvious kind of solution there, not a solution if that's not what you want to do, but an obvious possibility is, hey, you could trade him to a team that's going to have the time to give him everyday reps, to let him develop into a big league player. A team sees the value in that, and then they give up, a talented major league player that doesn't align with their window for winning, and then all of a sudden you've got a trade partner.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a possibility.
We'll see, like you said at the beginning of this, is what will happen in the next couple of weeks, because this logjam isn't turning into any less of a logjam.
No, it's not. And I do not envy Mike Elias and company for having to figure out how to move those chess pieces.
Yeah.
And we could see some of those prospects get moved in a trade. We have heard rumors about guys like Jesus Luzardo and Dylan Cease down the stretch here. So this problem could really work itself out over the next few weeks. But when we go into spring training, I'm anticipating a lot of roster battles, a lot of competition for that 26-man roster. It's going to be exciting, but you've got to move the pieces in the right way.